She was rejected and humiliated by the boy she loved. Years later, she returned differently. Kate is a 17-year-old girl attending DeMaria High School, was a quiet, kind-hearted artist with thick glasses due to her myopia, which prevented her from seeing objects from a distance. Known for being a bit of a nerd, Kate had a secret crush on Andrea, the most popular boy in school. Andrea was admired by many, despite his reputation as a bully who often stirred up trouble with his friends who followed him around. Kate's best friends, Daniel and Lisa, knew about her crush on Andrea. Daniel, who had been her friend since childhood, was always by her side, protecting her from any trouble. Lisa, her close friend since third grade, often caught Kate staring at Andrea, lost in thought. One day, Lisa tapped Kate on the shoulder and asked, "Are you okay, Kate?" Kate snapped out of her daydream, embarrassed, but her friends realized she was gazing at Andrea with a longing look. Determined to take a chance, Kate gathered her courage and told her friends, "I'll ask him out. I need to know if I could ever win his heart." Daniel was immediately uneasy, wondering why someone like Andrea would suddenly be interested in Kate, but he kept quiet, not wanting to dampen her excitement. After class, Kate approached Andrea. Heart-pounding, she said, "Hello, Andrea. I'd love to go out with you. I really like you." To her surprise, Andrea agreed, "I'm throwing a party at my place and I'd love for you to come. It's going to be fun." Kate's face lit up, thrilled by the invitation, and she promised to be there. She rushed to tell Daniel and Lisa the news, her face glowing with excitement. While Lisa was happy for her, Daniel still felt uneasy about the situation, but held back his concerns, not wanting to ruin Kate's happiness. In her excitement, Kate went above and beyond to prepare for the party, renting a fancy red gown to make a good impression on Andrea. She even borrowed money from her friends to buy him expensive gifts, imagining how happy he would be. Her heart was filled with hope, thinking this might be the beginning of something special. When the day of the party finally arrived, Kate dressed carefully in her beautiful gown and arrived at Andrea's house, feeling nervous but optimistic. The house was packed with friends from school and Cole, and everyone seemed to be having a great time. Kate approached Andrea with the gifts she had bought for him, smiling shyly as she handed them over. But instead of gratitude, Andrea and his friends burst into laughter. Kate's stomach twisted as confusion and dread washed over her. Andrea stood up, calling everyone's attention. Kate's heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear, thinking he might say something sweet. But his words cut through her like a knife. "This was all a bet," Andrea sneered, his cruel smile unwavering. "We wanted to see if I could make the shy, nerdy girl with big, ugly glasses fall for me. That's why I pretended to like you." The room erupted in laughter, and Kate felt her heart shatter. Her legs went weak, and her face burned with humiliation. She couldn't believe what was happening. As if they added insult to the injury, Andrea's playgirlfriend stepped forward from the crowd, giving Kate a disdainful look. "Did you really think you could ever have someone like Andrea?" she sneered. Kate's heart pounded as her vision blurred with tears, the laughter growing louder around her, echoing in her ears. Unable to bear it any longer, Kate covered her face and ran out of the party, feeling completely humiliated. Her mind swirled with emotions, anger, sadness, and shame. When she finally reached her room, she locked the door and cried until her eyes were swollen and red. All her hopes and dreams had been crushed in front of everyone. She picked up her phone and called Daniel, who listened in shock as she recounted the night's events. The next morning, Daniel rushed over to comfort her, soon joined by Lisa. They did their best to console her, but the pain ran deep, especially when Kate saw that clips of the party were circulating on social media, making her feel like the whole world was laughing at her. As she sat alone, the memory of the humiliation replaying in her mind, something dark and fierce began to grow within her, a desire to rise above the shame and prove herself to everyone who had mocked her. In the silence of her room, Kate resolved that one day things would be different. She would return, stronger, and she would make them all regret the day they humiliated her. For an entire week, Kate didn't go to school. She turned off her phone, locked herself away, and refused to talk to anyone. Not even Daniel and Lisa could reach her. Her days were spent replaying the humiliation she'd suffered and plotting ways to get back at Andrea and everyone who had laughed at her. Daniel, meanwhile, couldn't stand the constant taunts from other students, so he confronted Andrea. But his efforts only ended with him being beaten up by Andrea's friends, all for trying to stand up for Kate. Despite her shame, Kate knew she couldn't hide forever. A week later, she mustered the courage to return to school, hoping to slip into class unnoticed. But as soon as she stepped through the door, laughter erupted. Andrea's loud, mocking laughter echoed down the hall, even reaching students in neighboring classrooms. Kate felt so small, as if she could vanish into thin air. She kept her head down and tried to make herself invisible, sitting quietly at her desk as they taunted her. Daniel and Lisa sat beside her, whispering words of encouragement, reminding her that she was smart and talented even if others didn't see it. Over the next month, the ridicule gradually faded, as if the party incident had never happened. Yet, the experience left its mark on Kate. Though she'd tried to shake off her feelings, every time she saw Andrea pass by, she couldn't stay mad at him and she still felt her heart skip. Her lingering crush was unmistakable, and one day, a bold idea crossed her mind. She confided in Lisa. "I think Andrea likes girls with a certain style, confident, well-dressed. Maybe if I change my look, he'll notice me differently and respect me. What is really wrong with you even after being humiliated? You still like this guy." Lisa said carefully, but her heart sank, realizing that Kate was still caught in the hope of winning Andrea's attention. Lisa shared Kate's thoughts with Daniel, who felt a surge of frustration and anger. Unable to hold back, he confronted Kate. "How can you be so blind?" he asked, his voice sharp with emotion. "Andrea will never care about who you really are, and now you're thinking of changing yourself for him." Hurt and frustrated, Kate stormed away from Daniel, refusing to speak to him for days. Daniel, feeling guilty for his outburst, tried to make sense of his feelings. Everything he'd done, from defending her to standing up against her bullies, was out of his care for her. But he couldn't deny the truth. He liked Kate deeply, though he'd never found the courage to tell her, believing her heart belonged to someone else. One afternoon, Daniel was biking home from school when a car sped by him, grazing his leg and sending him tumbling onto the road with his bike. The culprit turned out to be Andrea's friends, who had been targeting him ever since he stood up to Andrea. Since that day, Daniel had felt their hostile presence, and now they had escalated their threats, even injuring him. They taunted him, vowing to make his life miserable until he graduated. That night, Daniel treated his injury in his room, wincing at the pain. Hearing him, his mother approached, concerned. As she entered, Daniel quickly covered his leg, hiding the wound. "What's wrong, Danny? I heard you from the parlor," she asked, worried. "I'm fine, Mom," he replied, forcing a smile. Sensing he didn't want to talk, his mother left the room. But Daniel kept his pain and fears to himself, not wanting to worry her. Lisa and Kate had no idea what Daniel was going through, as he hid it all to keep them from worrying. By the next morning, he managed to pull himself together and went to school, joining Lisa in the classroom. They both looked around, hoping Kate would show up, but she was nowhere to be seen. Lisa noticed Daniel looked unwell, with a bruise on his neck and bags under his eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked, concerned. "Yeah, just dealing with some things, but I'm fine," he said, trying to brush it off. Despite his own troubles, Daniel's focus remained on finding Kate. After class, he spotted her walking into the school with her bag. Calling out to her, he hoped she'd respond, but she kept walking as if she hadn't heard him. Feeling embarrassed, he followed her inside and called her name again. This time, Kate turned around, but instead of a friendly response, she snapped at him, yelling loud enough to draw attention. Startled, students stopped to watch. Hurt, Daniel was left standing there, unsure why she'd reacted that way. Lisa, witnessing the exchange from nearby, went after Kate to find out why she'd yelled at Daniel. Meanwhile, Daniel retreated to the quiet hallway at the back of the school, sitting alone as tears welled up. Andrea, who had witnessed the scene, saw an opportunity for revenge. He and his friends cornered Daniel, pinning him to the wall. "So, you like her too, huh?" Andrea sneered. "For trying to stand up to me, I'll make sure she hates you. I'll make her see you as her enemy, and if you do anything, I'll make her regret it." With that, he released Daniel, who slumped to the ground, feeling defeated and helpless, but determined to pick himself back up. Lisa later found Kate and confronted her, annoyed that she'd yelled at Daniel. Kate explained that Daniel's previous words had hurt her, which was why she reacted that way. "But don't you see? He said those things because he cares and is looking out for you, Lisa reasoned. But Kate was still too blinded by her hurt and feelings to understand. After school, Kate headed home alone. A car pulled up beside her, and the door opened to reveal Andrea. "Come on, let me take you home this time," he said, holding the door open. "I'm sorry for the way I've treated you." Kate hesitated, her emotions a mix of excitement and caution. Unsure if he was being sincere or setting up another prank, she eventually got in, allowing Andrea to drive her home. Lisa walked home with Daniel and quickly realized just how much he liked Kate. Wanting confirmation, she asked, "Why haven't you told Kate that you like her?" Daniel was taken aback, surprised Lisa had noticed. "Was it that obvious?" "I didn't realize," he replied, sheepishly. Lisa didn't fully understand why he stayed quiet whenever Kate was around. She encouraged him to take a chance and see where things might lead, especially with graduation just around the corner. After some thought, Daniel agreed to give it a try, despite Andrea's warnings. The next day, Daniel arrived at school and waited in the lower hallway, hoping to catch Kate. To his shock, he saw Kate walked in hand with Andrea, both laughing together, as Andrea caught the sight of Daniel with a threatening look. Daniel's heart sank as he watched them, lost in thought, until a classmate tapped him on the shoulder, snapping him back to reality. He felt like he'd been chasing something he could never have. Resigned, Daniel promised himself to keep his distance, wondering if he'd always just be a friend in her eyes. Pushing his feelings aside, he headed to class, only to see Kate sitting beside Andrea. Whispers filled the room. Since when did Kate and Andrea start dating? Daniel forced himself to ignore it and sat beside Lisa, who could see how much it hurt him. Quietly, he accepted that staying away might be the only way to keep Kate safe from Andrea. After class, Lisa confronted Kate. "What's going on with you? You've stopped talking to me and Daniel." "It's especially bad with Daniel. You haven't spoken to him in ages," she said, frustrated. "I get it. You two are jealous because I finally have what I want," Kate replied dismissively. "I have excellent high grades, and now Andrea's noticed me." Lisa realized Kate was too focused on her own success, seeing everything as a competition and forgetting who her friends truly were. Saturday mornings used to mean study sessions at Lisa's house for the three friends, but Kate hadn't shown up recently. Now it was just Daniel and Lisa sitting on her bed talking. "Kate's so caught up in herself she can't even see what she's doing." Lisa sighed. "You really need to tell her how you feel, Daniel. Maybe it'll change her perspective," she urged. Daniel thought about it, and Lisa's words started to make sense. "I'll tell her after our final exams on the graduation day. I'll make sure she listens," he promised. After their study session, Daniel went home. Alone in his room, he started rehearsing what he'd say to Kate, planning how and when to tell her. Just then, his mother walked in, sitting beside him with something to share. "After your final exams, we're moving to another city. I've got a new job, and I need to be closer to work," she announced. Daniel sat in silence, taking in the news. Though he knew he'd have to move with her, he felt a pang of regret. Accepting the inevitable, he resolved to set things right with Kate before leaving with his mother. The day of their final exam arrived. They all completed their tests, officially becoming graduates. There were celebrations, signing out, and joyful farewells. Daniel, nervous but determined, had prepared a letter for Kate, hoping to finally share his feelings. With his heart racing, he headed to the waterfall spot where he planned to meet her. However, when he arrived, he saw Kate with Andrea, giving him a light kiss on the cheek. From across the way, Daniel watched in shock, his heart breaking. Tears filling his eyes, he turned away and tossed the letter into a nearby trash can. Lisa noticed Daniel walking away and saw him discard something. Curious, she retrieved the letter, reading it carefully. The words revealed Daniel's true feelings, hidden behind his usual smile. Fighting back tears, Lisa thought, "I don't think Kate is ready to hear this truth, but one day she'll understand what she's lost." She folded the letter, tucked it into her bag, and went after Daniel. But when she reached his place, he was already gone. Daniel had left without telling anyone, and that was the last time anyone saw him. Lisa kept the letter, hoping it would one day show Kate just how much she'd lost in a friend who truly cared. 6 years later, Kate had graduated from college and opened a thriving art gallery downtown, drawing admiration for her talent. With numerous sponsorships and a loyal following, she was known across the city for her unique work. Moving away after high school had been her way to escape an old life. Lisa had also graduated from the University of Barkins and had become one of the youngest therapists. Fate brought them together in the same city, where they exchanged greetings, surprised to meet again after so many years. Andrea had taken over his father's company but had never changed a little. He was still as stubborn and selfish, spending time with the same crowd and old life. Daniel's path, however, had been far more challenging. He had dropped out of college to care for his mother, who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. Despite undergoing multiple rounds of chemotherapy, her condition worsened, and she passed away 2 years ago. Left on his own, Daniel took up various jobs to survive and eventually found work as a bartender. He was a talented mixologist and even had ideas for his own wine business, though he lacked the funds to start it. One day, while working at the bar, an old friend came in for coffee and recognized him immediately. "Hey, Danny, it's been ages. How are you?" Ben greeted him warmly. Daniel was both surprised and thrilled to see a familiar face from high school. They caught up, sharing stories of their lives over the years. As they finished their conversation, Ben mentioned an upcoming reunion. "Oh, and before I forget, we're having a reunion for our high school class of 18. You should definitely come," he urged. Daniel agreed, though part of him was hesitant. Returning to the town where it all began stirred up old memories. He considered skipping it, but eventually decided he had no reason to hide. Nervous about seeing his old friends, especially Kate and Lisa, he resolved to face whatever came his way. After Ben left, Daniel returned to work, bracing himself for the reunion ahead. One day, Lisa happened to run into Kate, and they decided to have a girls' night out at a bar. Lisa noticed Kate seemed overly focused on work and looked worn out. "Why are you pushing yourself so hard? I haven't seen you happy in such a long time," Lisa said, concerned. Back when they graduated from high school, Kate had been devastated after Andrea broke up with her the very next day, mocking her. Heartbroken again, Kate had left town, moving in with her aunt to escape the pain of her failed relationship. "I'm just really focused on work. What can I say? I feel like I've lost my dignity and even my closest friends," Kate replied. Since then, Kate had moved on but had avoided making new friends. When Lisa brought up the upcoming class reunion, Kate changed the subject, uninterested in revisiting past pains. "I know you're heartbroken, but don't let that keep you closed off. We might even see Daniel again, since he decided to practically disappear on us," Lisa encouraged. Kate made no promises but agreed to think about it. The two reminisced about the places they'd visited together until it was time to part ways. When the reunion day arrived, the class of 18 was gathered, everyone exchanging greetings and marveling at how far they had come over the years. The room was buzzing with energy. As Kate walked in, heads turned. She looked stunning in a beautiful dress, no longer needing her glasses now that her vision had improved. People were surprised by her transformation, admiring how radiant she looked. Lisa spotted her from across the room and approached. "I knew you'd come," she said, smiling. Kate hadn't intended to, but she'd changed her mind at the last minute. Daniel was there too, standing at the bar with Ben. Few people recognized him right away, and he was nervous about running into Lisa or Kate. After a few minutes, he stepped outside to get some fresh air, only to find himself face to face with Kate. For a moment, neither spoke, both stunned. Then Daniel finally broke the silence. "Hey, Kate. It's been a long time. How have you been?" he asked, noticing how beautiful she looked. Kate, equally surprised, managed a reply. "Hey, Daniel. I'm fine. I honestly didn't expect to see you here." As they exchanged pleasantries, Lisa noticed Kate talking to someone and recognized Daniel. She hurried over, hugging him warmly, thrilled to see him again after so long. The three of them found a spot to sit, catching up, laughing, and sharing stories. They expressed condolences for Daniel's mother, only now learning about her passing, and Daniel explained why he had left town with her. They talked, healing some of their old wounds, though much remained unspoken. Feeling a bit uncomfortable around Kate due to their past, Daniel eventually excused himself, needing a moment alone. Lisa understood. She knew it must have been difficult for him to attend. Determined to clear things up, she turned to Kate. "So, what does Daniel mean to you? A friend or something more?" she asked. I don't even know anymore, Kate admitted, regretful. I ruined our friendship over my own selfishness, chasing something that wasn't real. How can I fix that now? Seeing her friend's regret, Lisa decided it was time to reveal the truth. Daniel has loved you since high school, and you never saw it. He was always there for you, defending you. I've kept a letter from him for over 6 years, waiting for the day you'd be ready to know the truth. Today is that day. He wanted to give this to you at graduation, but after what you did, he couldn't bear it. Lisa handed her the letter, and though anxious, Kate opened it. And it says, "Hey Kate, I know maybe or probably you didn't remember this. That day in our 2nd grade that you defended me from boys who sought to drown me in a pool filled with water. Children we are, those days we didn't know the implication of things we do, but that day was the day we became best of friends. I vouched to myself to protect you and be strong to defend you just like you did for me. As time goes on, I fell in love with you. But I never had the courage to tell you because I didn't know what you might think of me. So I remained your best friend. You had a crush on Andrea. It broke my heart that you never recognized me, but I made a promise to never leave you. I might not have the full courage, but am willing to share your pain with you. Trust me. Andrea doesn't have your best interest. He doesn't love you. I have carried the pain he has inflicted on me ever since he humiliated you. I tried protecting you the best I could, but the point is that I love you and I want you to decide for you. Don't let anybody use you, no matter what, and whatever your decision is. I will always respect you for who you are. This is the piece of my heart to you from Daniel." She read. As she did, regret and heartbreak filled her. Memories surfaced, moments she had overlooked, times Daniel had been there for her, protecting her, enduring silently just to keep his promise. Tears rolled down her face as she realized the depth of true love, when someone goes out of their way to protect you and make you happy, even at their own expense. Lisa saw that Kate finally understood, and without hesitation, Kate went to find Daniel. She caught up with him as he was leaving the restroom. They stood there in silence, locking eyes, everything they had kept inside finally clear. "Why didn't you tell me?" Kate began, her voice soft but filled with regret. "I thought you just wanted to be friends, so I accepted that. Lisa gave me the letter you wrote 6 years ago, the one I never got to read. I'm so sorry." Her words were sincere, her confession genuine. Daniel was shocked that Lisa had held on to the letter all this time, realizing how much it had changed things. "It's okay, Kate. It's not all your fault, and I'm just glad you finally read it. I never imagined that letter still existed. Thanks to Lisa," Daniel replied, feeling a sense of closure. Just then, Lisa joined them, beaming with happiness, as the 3 friends finally reconciled. At the end of the night, Andrea made an appearance, claiming he'd been busy. When he saw Kate, he was stunned by her beauty and tried to charm her back. But this time, things were different. This wasn't high school anymore. They were all grown up, and Kate wasn't interested. After the reunion, they each returned to their lives. Kate and Daniel discovered a renewed love, and with her support, Daniel's business took off. They started a new chapter together. Lisa also found someone who truly loved her, and her life began to fall into place. Meanwhile, Andrea had a stark realization about his own life. He'd been married and divorced 3 times, struggling with relationships because he hadn't learned how to truly care for others. He realized too late that love isn't something you control or possess. It's something you earn and nurture to make it grow. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.